All right, folks. I don't think a lot of people are going to be joining us today, so I'm just going to be going over the very basics of what you're going to need for kickboxing. Um, uh, so to break it down for you, the first thing we're going to learn is our jab, and that's our very first punch. I'm going to demonstrate. Right. So we get in our good stance. First, let me demonstrate a good stance. Our feet are about a shoulder width apart, and then my toes. I'm going to raise my dominant hand. My dominant hand is my left hand. Most folks can be your right hand. For me, it's my left hand. I'm going to step my left foot, my dominant hand foot. I'm going to step it back till my toe lines up with my heel, right? And I want my foot out at like a 45-degree angle, right? If you were to map my feet, be a 45, right? Like that. Yep. I can't see them right now. Let me see if I can lower this. You guys don't need to see my face. Probably a little more important. You see my feet, right? Feet, shoulder width apart, 45 feet, 45 degrees, right? We want our knees a little bit bent so we can step into our punches, right? Hips underneath our shoulders, right? So we got a proper base. We want good posture, right? We want our shoulders back, right? And we want our hands to our face, right? Good, what I like to do is I have my hands open, right? Now that we're doing upper body posture, I'll raise the camera back up. Yeah, right. One thing I like to do is have my hands open, because when we put boxing gloves on, the boxing gloves will form the fists for us. So we don't need to be clenching our fists and wasting our energy clenching our fists, right? Excuse me. We can have them up to our head like this, right? And then I have my elbows down, right? So that way if I need to block for my body, all I need to do is clench that side of my body, right? Left or right. All right. So going back to the jab, right? So the jab is our first punch. The jab we use to feel out the distance, how far away they are and where our punches need to land in order to reach our opponent's body. Hold on. Right? So we're going to throw jab. And our jab is just our front hand coming out. It's going to rotate. So it's going from our knuckles pointing, not knuckles, sorry, but our, what do we call these? What do we call these? Yeah, pointing at our head, right? And then two, pointing away from you, right? You want your elbow almost up, right? When we end up extending this jab. Right, and you see my feet, my front foot, it's coming forward. And then since I'm just stationary here, comes right back. And then my feet are in exactly the same position they were in, right? Where my toe lines up with my heel approximately. And it's back at that 45, about a shoulder width apart, right? So next thing we're going to do is we're going to come forward throwing our jab, right? So to come forward throwing our jab, right? We're going to throw our jab, step that front foot forward. And as we pull this hand back, right, because our opponent's going to back up because he's getting punched in the face, right? We're going to pull back and stomp this back foot forward and place it, and then rotate, right? Stomp, so your heel's up in the air and your knees in, and then rotate so your heel's back down on the ground. And your feet are at that 45 and your toes lined up with your heel, right? One trick to know where you're supposed to place your heel, right, is when you stomp and your knee's in and your heel's up, your toe is going to be exactly where it was in our good stance, right? So we're going to rotate that back down. And we're rotating on our heel, right? Because our heel has to line up with, we're rotating from our toes, right? Because our toes have to be where our heel was. So our toes are going to remain stationary as our heel rotates around it and gets placed on the ground, right? So we're just going to throw a bunch of those. Right, and as you're going, I want you to check yourself and make sure that every time you throw this punch, you're going back in your good stance and you're resetting. Right, the jab is our most important punch. let's say you watch a fight where 300 punches are thrown. You know, that'd be a pretty exciting fight. 150 of those are going to be jabs. Maybe 200 of those are probably going to be jabs. It's just such a powerful weapon, right? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to throw our cross. So this is going to complete our 1-2 series. So we call our jab and our cross our 1-2, right? 2, 1, 2. Yep. 1 second. Is that a little better? I bet it's a little better. All right. So when we're throwing our jab cross, right? Our footwork is going to be exactly the same, and and other than the rotation of our shoulders, our upper body is going to be exactly the same, right? So this is just easily just throwing in, right? Jab, and as we pull back, that back foot stepping forward, now we're just adding in rotating and extending that front hand, right? Right? That's all we're adding. So once you have the jab cross, I recommend if you're watching this video in post, you're going to spend a ton of time just doing that jab, right? And then come back to this, right? So let me just go over the jab one more time, right? We're going to jab, step your foot down, right? Jab. We throw a jab, step our front foot forward, pull back, stomp our back foot, rotate till your heel's to the ground. Check your feet, make sure your feet are about in the right position, right? Our goal is to make it so that we don't have to reset in between punches. Our goal is to make it so that we're already reset between our punches. So that way we can just throw again, and we can throw in like the sort of like choo-choo train sort of speed and efficiency, or rhythm, sorry. All right, so pause there if you don't have the jab right here, and do it until you're jabbing and your feet are landing in the right spot. So take a minute, pause please, and just do that until your pause is in a place that you feel acceptable, right? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to throw our jab cross, right? Like I demonstrated for you a couple seconds ago, right? Our jab cross is it's going to be just like our jab coming forward, except as we pull this front hand back, we're going to extend this backhand, right? And as we rotate our foot back, this backhand's coming back to our face, right? Every time our punch is coming away from our face, we should be replacing it with our shoulder on our face, right? Just go down a little bit, right? So as I throw this jab, my shoulder's coming to my chin, and my chin is coming to my shoulder, right? Vice versa. So that way, if they throw a punch, right, my shoulder's there to block it instead of, you know, having nothing there and just getting knocked out. Same thing applies with my cross, right? As we rotate, my shoulder comes to my chin, so that way I'm protected if should they throw a punch there while my hand is away attacking him, right? So one more time, we're gonna throw a jab, step forward, pull back, and as we throw the cross, we're stomping, and as we rotate back down, we're pulling this cross back right to our face, right? Looks pretty good. Let's get that higher angle on it. Right. We're throwing our jab. Forward, cross. Rotating back. Jab. Rotate, cross. And back. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a ton of repeats of that. When I started learning kickboxing, my kickboxing instructor had me just do the jab, right? He just had me do the jab back and forth for like 3 weeks. 3 weeks of training. And then the jab cross, that was going back and forth down the gym 3 days a week, 2-hour sessions. For 2 weeks. So 3 weeks on the jab, 2 weeks on the cross. And then he figured I wasn't quitting. So we started like speeding things up a little bit more then. It was a little bit to like, you know, obviously teach me the fundamentals and emphasize the importance of the jab and the cross as your 2 fundamental punches, and a little bit to try and make me quit. But I'm not going to do that to you guys, namely because I'm not physically there, so I can't target you like that. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm I'm going to demonstrate the jab cross again, right? Our 1-2 punch. And then I'll have you pause the video, do a bunch of repeats of that, and then we'll move on to our next punch. Okay? Right, so, sorry, got a text from my boss. All right, so the next thing we're doing is we're gonna throw our jab cross, right? So step forward jab, step through, rotating our front hand, bringing our chin to bring our chin to our shoulder, right? And our shoulder to our chin, right? It's a mutually beneficial relationship, right? Can't move your shoulder without your brain, right? Your shoulder is protecting your brain, so they get along well. All right, then we're gonna stomp our back foot, right? Our heel is up, our toe is planted in the ground. Our toes are planted into the ground, right? Our shoulder comes to our face. And as we rotate that foot back down, our hand comes back to our face, and we're in that good stance again. Okay? Right, so let's get a whole bunch of repeats of that. If you guys have the space, you should come forward, but if not, that's life, we make do. All right. All right. So at this point, I'm going to go over the instructions one more time. I'm going to ask you guys to pause and go back over them until you're satisfied with your jab cross. All right. So one more time, right? Stepping forward with that front foot, extending our hand out, turning our hand over, and bringing our chin to our shoulder, right? As we pull that hand back and we bring our hand back to our face, we're stomping this back foot and it's extending that backhand forward, right, into a fist. Yeah. And then as we pull that back, we're going to rotate our heel back to the ground. We're going to check our feet, make sure they're back at that 45. Once you guys are really confident and you know your feet are back at the 45 and your toes lined up with your heel, right, you don't need to check anymore, right? Once we've got that mental acuity, right, then we can start picking it up, right, and doing our reps real fast and not breaking in between our reps. So we could do 2. Right, notice how I don't need to take a break in between my reps to check my feet. I know my feet are in the right position. All right. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to we're going to throw our hook. Okay, our hook is our third punch in our series, right? When we throw our hook, it's going to be with our front hand, right? And when we throw it, we're going to throw it off the 2, right? So we're going to jab, cross, do that same rotation. And because we have this rotation, we have a lot of potential energy here in our hips. I like calling this the Elvis, right? Because Elvis would dance sort of like that, right? And we're going to do the same thing, right? Except it's going to be a little bit more explosive, right? If you guys have ever ran track, it's like the discus throwers, right? They do this little thing, right? We're going to do the same thing, except our target's a little bit, like our target is right in front of us instead of being a little bit behind us, right? To generate the maximum amount of force. So what we're going to do is, right, we're throwing our jab, throwing our cross, then we're rotating this knee out, and we're rotating this knee in, and we're lifting this hand until our elbow, let me lift the camera a little bit for you so you can see my pretty face, right? So jab, cross, right? Notice how that knee is in, right? And as we step out, our hand comes up at a 90 degree to our body, right? Boom. 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 And if you just want to practice that hip rotation, right? So turning this knee in, turning your back knee in, right? Bring it out, lifting your elbow as we turn that other knee in, right? So it's just gonna be that combination of jab, cross, rotate out, hook. Jab, cross, rotate out, hook, right? And like just like with your other punches, you're jabbing your cross, your shoulders come in your face, right? Because God forbid they throw a punch while you're punching, right? You get caught, right? So we're gonna throw our jab, our cross, exactly the same. Jab, cross, and we're gonna do it coming forward too. Jab, cross, and our hook, we're not gonna come forward, right? Our hook, we're turning our hip to the side. This is all rotation, right? As we begin to turn that other hip, we're lifting our elbow up. Boom. Hook. Boom. And then pulling right back, right? Boom. 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 Bah, bah, boom. Bah, bah, boom. Right? Okay. So I'm going to have you practice that. Lower this just a little bit. God, I wish we had the field of view that you could also get my feet as well as my body. Right? So we're throwing our jab and our cross, then rotating out, throwing our hook, right? So we've mastered jab, cross, and we just gotta turn out, hook. Jab, cross, hook. Jab, cross, hook. Jab, cross, hook, right? Simple enough, simple enough. These are all our really basic fundamental punches that we're going to eventually turn into our combinations, right? All right. Let me go over it one more time, and then I'm gonna have you pause the video and do it by yourself, right? So we're throwing our jab, stepping forward, throwing our cross, bringing our heel, our toes to our heel, right? And rotating our knee up, right? By bringing our knee in, right? And lifting our heel up, right? And as we pull back, right? As we go to rotate down, we're turning this knee in. We're throwing that hook and rotating back as we bring our hand back to our face, right? So it should look a little bit like jab, cross, hook, right? And you guys can pause and replay that as much as you'd like till you get a really good feel for it, and that your footwork is your feet are landing in the exact same spot, right? So pause it right here until you get that done. And then once you feel you're ready, unpause and join me again, please. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is common problems, right? As you're doing your drills, right, we should be punching to someone who's about our height, right? Because someone who's about our height is going to weigh about as much, and that's who we're punching to, right? Unless you've got someone particularly in mind, like you got a little brother, and that's why you're pop, 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 you know? In which case, don't tell me that. I'd feel bad about teaching you this. You're gonna use it on your little brother. Other common problems people have is they step too far, right, when they're throwing their punch, and that way when they're readjusting their stance, right, they can't possibly move that back leg or that front leg enough to adjust for their other leg, right? So you have to watch out for that. That might be the problem you're having when trying to get your stance replacement correct, right? Stance replacement, that's the term we use when talking about getting into that proper stance between every single punch and combination, right? There are different styles of kickboxing, right? Personally, I've learned the whole gambit. I've gone from Bang Muay Thai to regular Muay Thai to Dutch kickboxing, a little bit of like the traditional martial arts, and yeah, I've done them all. Dutch kickboxing places a lot of importance into like resetting in between each of your strikes. If you guys have ever watched a Dutch kickboxing match, it's friggin' awesome, because it's usually like two very high level strikers going like, all right, you'll take your turn and throw punches at me, and then I'll take my turn and throw punches at you, when like both of them are completely ready to take punches. So like so they're just two dudes throwing absolute bombs at each other, and then like giving the other person their turn to like throw absolute bombs at the other, and then like the other person is 100% prepared to take it, but like sometimes it's just they just get overwhelmed, and it's crazy. It's awesome, and you guys should look up Dutch kickboxers if you ever get the chance. All right, back to this. So we're gonna finish out our first combination, right? So far we've learned we've just learned individual punches, right? So now we're really going to be stringing them together in a combination in which we use like position to try and get a dominant dominant stance on our opponent, right? So the first combination I'm going to teach you guys is the most basic combination, which is what you've already been doing plus one punch, okay? So jab, cross, hook, cross. In kickboxing, we call this 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, right? As you throw each punch. As we, right, coming off the hook, right? This is going to take a little bit of creativity, right? To go, when you guys threw the cross last, right? Our hips were completely in front of us, right? Now they're kind of to the side. All we're doing is we're rotating our hips, right? So that way we're rotating our hips right back. So hop, 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 right? That's the only difference between the hook and how we threw the cross earlier off of the jab and how we're going to throw it off the hook now, right? So, right, the combination is jab, cross, hook, cross, right? And we're just going to throw that over and 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 over again until we're really comfortable, right? So jab, cross, hook, cross. Jab, cross, hook, cross. Jab, cross, hook, cross. All right. Now if we want to come forward while we're throwing those, right? Jab, cross, hook, cross, right? And if you want to take a tiny step forward as we're throwing that hook, right? Do it on the rotation. And then as we throw that cross, we're going to replace our stance in that cross, right? And like we were throwing the cross earlier, when we throw that cross off the hook, boom, our foot, we're stomping our foot as we throw that punch, and as we pull it back, we're rotating our heel back to the ground, okay? Right? That's our basic fundamentals up until your first drill. This is supposed to be like a half an hour lesson, but like if you've paused and repeated as much as I'd like you to, this is easily a 2-hour class. Don't feel bad, obviously, if you didn't. Like it's hard. It was really easy for me to do a bunch of reps of jab when I had like a gym that was like, 100 meters across. It's a little bit more annoying now that I'm in a room of like, I don't know, probably 10 feet. I'm like a near 6-foot man. To throw, jab, cross. I could probably get like 4 reps before I'm at the other wall. Okay. And I understand that's a little bit annoying, but times like these, we got to make sacrifices. Okay. So, all right. Next thing I'm gonna have you guys do is, so we've learned how to go forwards. Actually, here's what I'm gonna have you guys do. Throw the jab, cross, hook, cross, and pause this video and do that until you feel like your footwork is good, and then do like 20 more reps. Okay? So jab, cross, hook, cross, jab, cross, hook, cross, jab, cross, hook, cross, right? And right, I'm punching down because like my camera isn't being too kind to me with like what you guys can see, but you guys should be punching, you guys should be looking straight across from you, right? And punching straight ahead, right? Straight ahead. Your punches should come out like a piston, right? At shoulder height. All right. Thank you guys so much. All right, so pause here, do those reps. I'll wait for you on the other side. All right, so the final thing I'm gonna have you guys do is I'm going to have you guys throw, we've thrown coming forwards. Now I'm gonna have you guys throw backwards, okay? So we're gonna throw jab, cross, right? That's how we came forward, right? How we're gonna go backwards is cross, hook, right? And we're gonna do exactly the steps that we did coming forward, but we're gonna do them in reverse, right? So as we throw our cross, our foot's stomping, but it's stomping backwards, right? Because we're going back. And as we pull this hand forward, we're rotating our knee in so we can throw that hook. And as we rotate it back down, we bring our hand back to our face. So ba, 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 right? So now our feet are at a 45-degree angle, just like they were before. And we can throw that jab cross, and we can throw that cross stepping back, hook, rotate the knee in, right? All right. So I'm gonna have you throw a bunch of reps of that. All right, so jab, cross, and cross, hook, cross, hook, cross, hook, right? Jab, cross, jab, cross, jab, cross, and then, right, cross, step back, hook. And as we throw this hook, right, both of our feet are rotating, right? This foot's rotating so that the heel is down. This foot's rotating so that my knee comes in, hook, stepping down, right? Cross, hook, cross, hook, cross, hook, hook. All right. All right. So we're gonna do a whole bunch of reps of that, right? Just work on them, right? Cross, hook, cross, hook, cross, hook, cross, hook. And now I'm gonna turn around just so I can get experience, right? And maximize our space, which I know we need to do nowadays, right? Cross, hook, cross, hook, cross, hook, cross, hook, right? And we should be doing them right now. You guys should be doing them slow, checking your feet in between every single punch, making sure that back foot on the stomp is down, right? And your heel's off the ground. And as you pull back, your heel rotates to the ground. And this knee rotates in as we throw our hook. And then rotates back down as our fist comes back to our face. Cross, lift your heel. Hook, rotate. Cross, lift your heel. Hook, rotate, rotate back in. Right? So let's get a whole bunch of reps of those in. And let's call it a day. All right? Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a nice day. This has been Aiden Hennessy, your kickboxing instructor for the campus recreations department. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a nice day. All right?